Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks, failures, and challenges become the stepping stones for growth, clarity, and purpose. I'm your host, Ezekiel Etheria, and today we are joined by John Voelz. He is a full-time musician, an author, a speaker, and the host of the Geek to Live podcasts. Having spent his entire life in the people business, including many years as a pastor, he understands the grueling reality of making a living doing what you love. He realized that the modern creative industry has a systemic failure. It romanticizes the overnight viral sensation while completely hiding the disciplined daily craft required to actually survive as an artist. Instead of waiting for a random stroke of genius, he wrote he wrote the book Becoming an Idea Mentalist to teach people how to intentionally train their minds to spot opportunities. Today, he performs hundreds of shows a year and helps working musicians build a sustainable life. He's here to talk about the failure of the overnight success, the hidden skills every great performer develops, and the daily habits of highly creative people. So, John, I am excited to welcome you to the show today, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Man, thanks, Ezekiel. That's fantastic. I think I'll just take you on the road with me, and when I get on stage, you can just introduce me every time, make me look good.
Oh, that'd be great. That would be an honor indeed. All right. So let's get things started, John. The creative industry constantly romanticizes the overnight viral sensation. So is treating art as a random stroke of luck rather than a disciplined daily craft. Is it a failure that causes new musicians to quickly burn out?
Well, I think you're exactly right. I mean, we have television shows that, reality television shows where they make it look really easy. You
Mm,
sing somebody else's song in front of an audience, somebody gives you a thumbs up or a vote and, sends you to Hollywood or whatever the case is. And next thing you know, you're selling out auditoriums. I think many of those people, if you were able to sit with those people from those award shows and interview them and ask them what the reality is, they would tell you that it's a lot of hard work. And as a working musician right now, I can tell you, it's funny. Sometimes people will come up to me at a gig and they will say, "What do you do?" And I know what they're asking. They're saying, what do I do for a job? And I'll tell them, this, this is my job. This is what I do. And they're always surprised by that. Think that, music or art in any form is something that you do because you love. And if you can get paid for it, then that's fine. But then you hold down a real job on the side. And the fact is, I mean, it's a legitimate way to make an income. It just takes some discipline and some ingenuity and the ability to hold things loosely, the ability to pivot, which has become a big word since COVID. So yeah, it's a lot of hard work. It's worth it for me because I love it, but it's hard work.
all right, all right. So, John, let's talk about your book, Becoming an Idea Mentalist. So, just give us an overview of what the book is about. Tell us your inspiration. What gave you the inspiration, the spark, and motivation to write this book, and who the ideal readers are.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. I don't get many people to ask me that question. First of all, a mentalist is they're a magician that wows people. They do more than just pull the rabbit out of the hat, or people, they're used to that kind of trick. They're
Mhm.
the Chris Angels of the world who stand on a stage and people's jaws drop and they think, what kind of a higher power are they working with right now to make this kind of
Mm,
magic happen? What's the voodoo that's happening? So I thought that was a fun way to describe somebody who has the kind of ideas that make people stop and take notice and think, I've never seen that done before. My entire life, I've been an idea person. And I thought for the longest time that everybody was an idea person. This is just what we do. We come up with ideas. And while I do believe that we all have an innate ability to be creative and to come up with innovations, there's a different level of something that happens with somebody who I would call an idea mentalist, where they rapidly find kind of the outlier ideas. The ideas seem to come to them out of nowhere.
Mhm.
And people ask me my entire life where I came up with my ideas. And I thought, I don't know what you're talking about. They're right there. You just reach out and you grab ideas. That's what you do. But as I got older, and I'm in my 50s now, I realized that I've actually positioned myself to be an idea person throughout my life because of experiences that I get involved with and the community that I surround myself with. There are some habits that we can begin to practice to become a better idea person. So that's where the inspiration came from. It was people asking me, where do you get your ideas? And me having to stop and think, huh, that's a good question. Where do I get my ideas? So that's what the book is all about. So if you feel like you need a new idea or you're stuck acting on a new idea, if you're just curious about where ideas come from, then that book is for you.
All right, John. So, you wrote a book about the unusual practices and rituals of ideal people. Where do aspiring entrepreneurs and creators usually fail when they try to turn a good idea into something real in the world?
Yeah, for sure. Well, let me give you a few practical ideas here that might help you begin to start wrapping your head around it, and something that has become clear to me in my life about ideas.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people stop with the execution of an idea, no matter how good it is and how they think it might work out. They'll pause because of two things: fear and tradition. Those are the two things I think that hold ideas back. Fear, what will people think? What if it doesn't work? What if I lose money? What if, what if, what if? And then tradition, bucking the system. In our heads, there's a voice that says, nobody has done this before. This isn't the way that things get done. And so those two things can stop us in our track. So we need to work around those things. One of the first things I say in the book, and I'm a huge believer about this, is that to be an idea person, to be in a spot where we can get past the fear and tradition that holds us back, we need to start asking ourselves a question. And the question is this: who says I can't do that? Like that has to be a mantra. We have to ask ourselves, who says I can't do that? Who are the power brokers that sit in their ivory tower somewhere on high and say, that will never work. You can't do that. We have to constantly ask, who said I can't do that? So that's the first thing. There's a mindset about idea generation and idea execution. Is that getting to the root of what you're asking there?
Yeah, yes, John. It did actually go into the depth of the question to give a satisfactory response. But yeah, that was a great one. You spent years as a pastor before becoming a full-time musician. So did leading a congregation teach you about the specific failure of treating a room full of people like a transaction instead of like a community?
Hmm, that's interesting. Yeah, the life as a pastor for me was difficult at times because I deeply love people. I want to help people. I want to listen to their stories. And so I would take those things home with me a lot. And for 30 years, I walked that road, that pastoral life.
Hmm.
And one of the things that's difficult about being a pastor, and I mean, difficult, I'm not crying in my margarita, I'm not boo-hooing, but one of the things that's difficult is that when you're a pastor of a church, people think it is their right to have access to you, no matter when. 24/7. They want your time and attention. They think it is your job to listen to them, fix them, be their friend. It makes building community extremely, extremely difficult. So what I found I had to do in my life, and this is something that I still do as an idea person, is I surround myself with a small group of people who I like to call my life editors, people who I have invited into my life, and I have given them permission to help me understand when I need to say no to something, to help me understand when, if I'm going down this road, it's not going to be healthy, because I don't always have a good read on those things because I'm so attracted to people. So that was the bigger problem for me, is people wanting access to me and me not knowing when to shut it off, me not knowing how to set boundaries. That's something that I still am learning as a human being. And so having people that are very close to me, that are my life editors, has been extremely helpful with that.
Okay, John, building a sustainable life through live performance can be quite difficult. So, what's like the mindset shift required to keep a self-employed artist going long term, even after maybe a string of terrible gigs or failures?
Yeah, yeah. Well, one thing first about failure is, and I know you have the word fail in the title of your podcast, but one of the things that I have had to come to grips with in my own life is that there's no real such thing as failure.
Mm,
Or maybe we just need to reframe it. I think, and my therapist told me this one time, he said that failure is a construct within our own minds when we care too much about what other people think, or we are measuring our own success against someone else's success, or just the idea of what success should be in the world. Once I started to
mm,
understand that, then I started looking at, sometimes things don't go well. Maybe a marriage ends, or you get fired from your job, or your kids are rebellious, or your idea didn't work out the way you wanted it to. I've lost tens of $1,000s of money and ideas in my lifetime, but I don't look at those as failures.
mm-hmm,
I just look at because it's hard to call it a failure when there's so many opportunities still available. And somebody told me one time, they said the definition of a wealthy person is a person who still has choices. And I thought, oh, man,
mm,
that's incredible. So in everything I've done in my life, I ask myself that question. I go, do I still have choices? Do I still have a way that I can move with this? And if the answer is absolutely, I do, then I can't really call it a failure. Yeah. But I do understand the concept of failure
mm-hmm,
too. I mean, I understand what we're talking about when we say failure. I guess I'm just trying to reframe it in my mind all the time, because that's one of
mm,
the things that helps me persevere. And I think it's one of the things that helps us persevere. I had another mentor, another editor in my life one time tell me, the sweat has to come from somewhere. And what he meant by that is, no matter what you're doing, no matter how much you love it, no matter how attracted you are to some form of work, some kind of revenue stream, the sweat has to come from somewhere. You are going to have to work. So when you have a gig that doesn't go well, when you have a venue that's angry at you, when you have something cancel, when you've been out working a lot of hours and your kids are upset because they haven't seen you and they're wondering when mom or dad is going to come home. When those things happen, it's always good to work through those things and find good solutions for those things, but know that they're normal, that they are fabric to the lifestyle, because no matter what you're doing, you got to sweat. That's why they call it work. So as As fun as music is for me, and sometimes it just feels like, oh my gosh, this is on the playground right now. This is beautiful. But then it doesn't take too long to get, smacked in the face with something that takes you down for the count. And you have to go, oh yeah, that's right. The sweat has to come from somewhere. Another friend once told me that his dad used to tell him, every day you have to eat one bowl of dog dew, which sounds so gross. But when you think about it, when those things happen during the day, you go, I, I guess this is my bowl of dog dew for the day. And then you get past it, you move on, and you persevere.
Okay, that is such a fantastic perspective to see things from. John, thank you very much for sharing it with us. So here's one I like to ask most of the guests I have a conversation with on this podcast. For you personally, John, after spending your life in front of rooms, writing books, and playing hundreds of shows a year, what does being successful truly mean to you now?
Success at this point in my life is in relation to my work. Success for me is loving it, finding new ways to love it, and being able to spend time with my family as I do the things that I love to do. Because I have had careers before where I absolutely loved it, but my family was being sacrificed in that somehow. And it was easy for me to gloss over it or to paint it with different colors so I felt better about it. Life as a pastor for me for many years was like that because it was so extremely demanding and I felt like I had to be available for everybody. My family really suffered in the course of that. When I say suffered, I mean, they never made me really feel bad, but I know, looking back, I know, man, I wish I would have done better during those years. I think I did a lot of things right. I didn't totally blow up my marriage or my family, but also I feel like at this point in my life, I'm redeeming the time with, what I have left. I want to be able to pour into my family in beautiful ways. And now I have not only kids, but I have grandkids. So success for me is being able to still do what I love, but not having my family suffer.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that with us, John. So, lastly, for our listeners who want to tune into the Gig to Life podcast and learn the deeper craft of performing, or maybe just connect with you to have a conversation, where's the best place for them to go?
Gig to Live is on all the major streaming platforms. I don't have a video component yet for Gig to Live. That is something that is in the works, but right now it's audio and you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, just do a search for the Gig to Live podcast. And I think it's a very practical and I think funny, humorous approach to what the gig life looks like. So for people who are trying to make a live as a gigging artist or are curious about that, I think it's a very practical, approachable podcast for them. So thanks for asking.
All right. Thank you very much, John. It has been an amazing time having a conversation with you here, and I am truly excited having you on the show today.
Ezekiel, thanks for having me. And I like your chair. I feel like I'm in a video game the whole time.
Yeah, it's a gaming chair. It's quite comfy. So, yeah, thank you very much.